Hey Jay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ember?
I'm good. Looking forward to talking about the Pentacles today.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, in the Pentacles, we are now moving into the element of Earth, and Pentacles represent our material, physical resources and our physical body. So it's Earth energy, time-wise. It represents typically the winter time of year. And we're thinking about Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn energy if we're looking at in terms of the zodiac. Moon phase is waning crescent. And we're really honing in from the ace to the 10 on the lessons of material wealth, finances, primarily finances, and our physical health and the physical body. Some keywords that I think of when I see the pentacles come up in a reading are resources, community, government, material wealth, prosperity, finance, manifestation, stability, conservatism, generosity, and metamorphosis. There's this really big element of change, more so than the other suits that we see in the Pentacles. And it's really that physical growth and that transformation that we then meet kind of at the King of Pentacles. So today we're going over the Ace of the Ten. Jay, just like high level, what do the Pentacles tend to pop up for you? Anything in general for the suit?
Yeah, like wealth, finances, your comfort level with your security of how things are going in your life,
Hmm.
um, a little bit of health,
Hmm.
and like work career kind of stuff, like the things that bring you in money, side
Yeah.
hustle or whatnot.
Yeah. The wands are more like the things that keep us inspired in our career, and the pentacles are like the things that pay our bills.
Yeah,
That's how I like to differentiate them because they show up in both suits.
yeah.
Um, all right. So let's just jump in. You can see I have the ace here. So on the Ace of Pentacles, I love this card. It's a very inviting image. We have the hand holding out the coin with the pentagram on it, and it's very much a symbol of luck and prosperity. Aces always represent new beginnings, so this is like new financial
Mhm.
opportunity. Also, it could be a new like resource to invest in your health. There is the gateway. I love it because it's like the portal. So it's almost as if the ace is like you're standing on the outside, and the adventure just waits you through this gateway. And we see the mountain in the background that we follow on the fool's journey, primarily through the major arcana as we go up and down the hills of life. There are the white lilies, which represent like purity, and the red roses, which is passion. There's a hardiness to it, and the seasonal nature. It's really interesting because even though this it typically represents the winter, it's a very lush nature representation in the cards, which we're first seeing here in the ace with all of the like the shrubbery that's growing along that fence there. That's kind of like inviting us into like this opportunity of the Ace of Pentacles. um, so when I see this come up, I think of something like immediate. This is like an offer, an investment, it's something that is like a new opportunity, a new job, a new raise, or some type of like physical health or wellness vocation. Um, Other than that, that's kind of all that I have for the ace. What do you come up with when you get the Ace of Pentacles?
Visitors.
Yeah.
So I always get like a new opportunity. So again, this is going to be a new opportunity for work, a new opportunity to start a new venture,
Mhm.
um, new opportunity for health and wellness to come in, um, health and wealth to come
Mhm.
in, and you can see by like the garden there is a journey ahead. Like it looks like you're leading out of the garden towards the
Mhm.
journey. Um, yeah, to go seek something. And yeah, the white is kind of like that peace component.
Mhm.
Um, the hand coming through is kind of like that. Like that. What do we call it? Like the divine hand coming through, kind of
It's yeah,
showing
and
you
it's the
like,
giving hand.
yeah, the
Mhm.
giving hand, like come this way. There's a new opportunity. So for me,
Mhm.
it's always good things.
Mhm.
I haven't had too many readings where this has come up, but when it has, this came up with the Ace of Cups for the person. So I was like, oh, this is like
Ooh.
even better. But yeah,
Mhm. It's good. I always love seeing this card because it's like it's a promise of prosperity, right? It's like
yes,
it'll be abundant. And this is material, physical abundant, not just
yeah,
abundance in like creativity or passion or excitement or emotion. This is where we're really starting to see the physical results of the work that we're doing, or we're really taking those lessons or those kind of experiences that we're having, and we're seeing it really materialize in the physical world. So also forgot to mention that pentacles represent long term. So these are the years. These are things that are long term. So while this is like a quick new opportunity, it's something and sometimes the pentacles make me think of seeds.
yeah.
So it's like this is like the seed of something that you're going to nurture and that you're going to grow and that's going to continue to be abundant for you for a long time. Um, all right. Anything else for the ace?
Kind of health, wellness, and career,
Mhm.
relationships, love. I mean, this is, in terms of relationships, this could be that new potential for a business partner,
Mhm.
to partner with someone on a new business venture.
Mhm.
Maybe if you are looking for funding for a business, this could be that opportunity of someone who could be a silent partner and just kind of back you.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about Rowena. She's going to start crawling all over you now, too.
I know.
Is she there?
So I've kicked her out today.
Oh, okay.
She's she's outside the door right now. So
Okay.
um but yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily get in terms of like relationships. I don't always get this in terms of like a romantic relationship, but it could be
Just
right.
silently, it's sugar daddy.
It could be.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum of relationships.
Yes, there are.
But this absolutely typically more along the lines of like business partner, maybe an angel investor or a
Yeah.
financer or some type of partnership that they're going to be bringing in material resources. Um, or this could be like a new health coach or something, right? Because it's
Yeah.
also the physical body. It's the two kind of go hand in hand. Health wise, I don't typically get this one a lot for health. Only maybe sometimes if someone's undergoing fertility treatment, will I pull
Okay.
pentacles? That might be, this might be somebody who is going for like an implantation.
Hmm.
But I don't typically get this one a lot for health, only in the fertility aspect, I would say. Um, and yeah, we covered career already, mainly like
Yeah.
career business ventures. Yeah, it's a quick one. This one's probably the most straightforward. Anything else for the ace?
No.
No? Okay. So let's. All right. So next we have the Two of Pentacles, and there is a young person, and they have the two coins in between the infinity symbol, and that can represent many things. So it could be like the endless nature of the things that we're doing, the tasks that we're doing, or it could be the natural cycle of like investing and receiving. Um, Balance, renewal. And it's really this, to me, this is the reminder that like finances are fluid. It's a
Hmm.
never ending cycle. I think sometimes we can get caught up in a limited mindset. And the Two of Pentacles to me is always like money is always flowing, right? Or keeping money flowing. In the background, there's the big waves in the background. So there might be some emotional component that's tied to this decision or whatever it is that you have to balance. And the two ships represent a journey. So they could
Mhm.
represent many things. So it could be representing a journey, or they could also represent resources, resources going out or resources coming in. Overall, the two is multitasking, juggling, the possibilities, partnership, or it's like two forces. It could also be like two opposing forces keeping things going. There is also like the tall red hat, which is really exaggerated compared to some of the other, like the other types of clothes that some of the figures are wearing. And it really is just bringing to mind that like there's this mental component as well to this decision or dilemma or whatever it is that the person is facing, and they have yet to take action. um Anything else? I'm just trying to think. So it's really emphasizing like the mental element, um and being like clear headed, or maybe not being too like big headed, or getting too much in your mind. Lots of red and orange and yellow represent more like so that fire. So with an
Mhm.
earth card, we have the emotions, the passions, the mental clarity. We're almost fusing all of the elements together, um into this too. What do you get for this card?
Yeah, so you can also kind of see that his one foot is up. He's trying to balance, and so I always kind of get that that kind of number two kind of decision balancing kind of thing. For me, for this one, I always some people think there's a choice or there's a balance or something, but for me, in terms of this being like health and wealth, I always think of prioritization when I think about
Mm,
this. Trying to
mhm,
juggle everything, maybe your well-being, your work-life balance, your health, and
mhm,
mental health. Kind of, those two kind of things go hand in hand. With the turbulent waves in the background, resources going out or coming in. It could also be a little bit of that emotional component of it as well. So,
mhm,
for me, the kind of key word that I always get with this is prioritization. So, what are you
mhm,
balancing? What do you need to prioritize? Are you working too much? Do you need to prioritize yourself more? Do you need to,
mhm.
yeah.
I agree. And when this comes in, I'll tip for work, it could be like, do you have that work-life balance?
Hmm.
This could be maybe you have two offers that you're debating between, or you have to make a financial decision and you're trying to decide like where, kind of where to put your money, where do it, like wh- where when you put your money will you get the most reward from, or kind of like take you the furthest.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes this is even like a card about moving because of the ships in the background, and there's
Hmm.
really this kind of nod to a voyage. So it could be between like two places to live, two jobs
Yeah.
to take.
Yeah.
Um, mhm. In health, this to me would be someone who, because while the figure looks like they're in control, this is the road to burnout.
Hmm.
So it's like, are you really managing all those things that you're doing? And could you be using your own resource, your time resource better,
Yeah.
so that you could prioritize, like your finances or your health? Um, I'm trying to think.
There's a little bit of like a this or that. I know it's kind
Yeah.
of like that continuum of, things running through the infinity loop.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can kind of separate it from that constant flow to, you know, going back to the twos and there being duality or like a choice and saying, is it this or that?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like the immediate? Do I take into consideration the immediate future or the long-term impact? Sometimes
Mhm.
even that can come up. Okay. So health, do you? Any comments for health with the Two of Pentacles?
Yeah, again, I mean, you already hit on it. For me, it's that work-life balance. Are you working too much? Are you too stressed out? Do you need to take time for yourself? Where is the balance? What are you prioritizing right now? Are you prioritizing your work? Are you prioritizing your health? Is one affecting the other? So and that's where I get that kind of infinity. Something is affecting something else, right? There's a cause and
Yeah.
an effect, and is it negative right now, or is it positive, or are you balancing it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so true.
And with relationships, again, I don't really know if this is a relationship card other than, in relationship to work or finance or health, right? I don't necessarily see this as like a romantic card, but more of like a work partnership, um, health partnership kind of card.
Mhm.
Hmm.
In the relationship aspect, it could be like someone who's playing the field
Oh
and
yes,
they're kind of,
yes.
they're
Juggling poorly or
juggling.
well, who knows?
Sometimes it will come up in that
Yeah,
aspect. Or it could be somebody who is, this to me is either like someone who's single, someone who's dating,
yeah,
or early on in a relationship, kind of determining like, well, it could also be long term, right? Like a redistribution of priorities within the relationship. Um, but yeah,
hmm,
anything that has to do with choice, balance, because there is the water in the background, like, right,
yeah,
that wave, and they're really exaggerated waves. So to me, it almost also reminds me of like, when you drop a stone in water and the ripple effect.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, if I drop this stone, like, what will be the effect
Hmm.
of anything else? All right. Anything else for the Two of Pentacles? These are quick ones so far. It's because the juicy
I
ones are at
know.
the end in the Pentacles. Thankfully, we're not in the swords. So this is the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles, it's one of my favorite cards. I'm always happy to see it when it comes up in a reading most of the time, because it's really the card of the architect or the mentor. So depending on which figures you're looking at, so if you're looking at the figure that's standing up, kind of lifted above and it looks, like they're teaching, or are you more drawn to the figures that are on the ground that are like receiving the information? Overall, the arc, it's very ornamental. So there's really this nod to um, like developing or honing a skill or a craft, but really becoming like paying attention to details. This isn't just like a quick hobby. This is something that now you're investing money in order to learn, and to become more of an expert in, and then to later capitalize on it. This is very much like the card of like a vocation, something that you're really, really called to. And the bench, it could represent like a workbench, right? So it could represent many different things. Um, but typically like craftsmen, trades. And it's like an apprentice with the plans and then kind of like the master with the skill. So because you can see the scroll in the one figure's the tunic, the one who's wearing the long tunic. Mm, Just trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing. Okay, nothing there. So the three, it's really recognition, endorsement, teamwork, collaboration, and craftsmanship. What do you get for the three, just in general
I
terms?
get collaboration in terms
Mhm.
of it being like a work card.
Yeah.
I do kind of get that mastery. You can also say that maybe, the two are learning from the guy standing on the bench.
Mhm.
Or maybe he's the worker bee and the other two are the ones who are um, kind of leading the direction kind of thing. But
Mhm.
uh, you have the three pentacles, the three people. There is that craftsmanship, so definitely I get some sort of collaboration, in
Mhm.
mostly in regards to work.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I agree. So we can kind of start it with if this were to come up in a reading about career,
Mhm.
it could take really two different approaches. So the first, it could be like, are you the mason who's standing on the bench, and are you sharing your talents and your gifts, and are you teaching, or are you kind of like sharing your information and your knowledge, or are you, one of the two figures at the bottom? Are you making the drawings? Are you making the plans? Are you learning? There's different ways to approach those figures. Someone who's going to school, someone who's teaching in a
Yeah.
course, someone who's entering into a mentorship program, or somebody who is
Yeah.
mentoring. Um, mhm. And these are long-term projects too. There's very much the emphasis on like, this is going to take you a while. It's probably going to take you at least a year. Like, not.
Yeah, and I was
Mhm.
gonna say, with the Pentacles, when you get to like the Eight of Pentacles, or yeah, at least the Eight of Pentacles, maybe the Nine of Pentacles, there is a component of like, that's the mastery skill kind of thing.
Mhm.
And with skill, depending on what it is, there could be some education. So there, yeah, I do definitely get the student component, with these cards. We had talked about it before. What is in that guy's hand?
The one on the workbench.
Yeah, because I was like, he's hanging curtains.
I know. I kind of sometimes think it looks like a sound bowl.
It does kind of look like a sound bowl.
Um, but he's supposed to be a mason.
Okay.
So it's like a tool in his hand. Mhm.
Yeah. I do get that, like, starting a co-op, starting an internship, being mentored,
Yes.
um, long work project. If you, I don't know, if you're a designer or, you work in like the house industry, this could be that, you might get a construction job, a decoration job kind of
Yeah.
thing from that as well, but also that whole like entering school. So, um, maybe the couple are your parents, like representative of parents, and you are a young student kind of thing, and they're
Hmm.
just kind of guiding you, in that kind of aspect as well.
Hmm. And there's very much this like aspect of being on display, being
Mm-hmm.
public. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's sharing, he's making himself seen, he's making himself like very public. So I think that's a really important distinction in this card too, because sometimes there's things that we do behind the scenes, and then there's certain things that we do, kind of on a platform or
Yeah.
that give us attention.
I was gonna say, this couple could also be coming up with plans to, like with the plans to get the expert advice,
Yes.
um, but also, um, they might be coming, that could be a contract. They might see this guy's work and say, like, hey, could offer, the component of working together collaboratively,
Yeah.
on a project as well.
Yeah. Historically, like it is a church, but that's just
Yeah.
like some of the undertones of the tarot that we have is very much
Mhm.
that church atmosphere. Um, but then to me, it's also like that devotion aspect of it, like
Yeah.
something that's like sacred and something that you take time and you're conscious doing. Do, 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 do. Okay. In terms of health, what would you say for this card?
Yeah, so I mean, the two people going to the one on the bench, he's kind of open to display. They could be seeking, this could be you seeking, advice about help.
Mhm.
This could be you going to see a nutritionalist, a personal trainer,
Mhm.
going to a gym that's got
Mhm.
multiple people in it, um, seeking advice. But when you do that, like, you're also moving into a contract,
Mhm.
to get yourself better kind of thing. So
Mhm.
again, there's that component of work
Mhm.
relationship in that.
Absolutely. And I think there is like that contractual part that's important, right? Because they're like holding the paper, they're holding the plans, or they're holding the contract, whichever speaks to you when you're in the reading. But I also kind of like how they're like, this is the goal, right? Because if
Yeah.
you look really closely at it, you can actually see the completed
Yes.
drawings, and it's like, okay, this is what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
I'm going to consult an expert to see how I can get there.
Yeah.
Um, Health, to me, this would be somebody else, again, long term, right? These are things that maybe it's someone who has a lifetime, like this is something that will affect them through their whole life. Um, I'm trying to think of any other health aspects for this. I can't really think of what about relationships?
Relationships. This is again, maybe someone seeking counsel. Kind of what I get is one person asking, kind of in that really traditional, like asking for a hand in marriage kind of thing, with the
Mm,
one and then the two.
mhm.
Um,
I've never looked at it like that before.
yeah, yeah. In terms of relationships, again, this is more of like work relationships, work partnerships, work collaborations. In terms of romance, this could be moving towards, and again, in some religions, you have to do like church work.
Yeah,
And this again could be,
marriage
that
counseling.
component of being a student, um, working on something to build something, right?
Hmm. Could be like someone going to therapy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Or this could be like in terms of relationships, getting counsel or advice
yeah,
from somebody who is in a very, some people have been married for like 30 years, 20 years,
exactly. Yeah,
right? And you like, who better to ask those types of questions than
yeah,
people who've been in it, right? Because it's very much this person is the expert through experience,
yeah,
not just in a scholastic way.
right.
There's a very like tactile, like he's a mason. He has like a hammer in one hand, and I can't remember what it's called, that they chip away the stone with. So this is someone, it's almost tempered, right? Like they've been
Yeah,
tempered through experience, and their wisdom and their expertise comes through wisdom.
yeah.
Um,
What would
Relationships,
you
sometimes
What would
it can
you say?
come up as sometimes it can come up as cheating,
Yeah,
confrontations, but that's more like Three of Swords, Three of Cups energy.
right. What would you say the sister card for this would be? One
Oh,
of
that's a
them.
really good question.
I'm thinking of the Hierophant
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of seeking counsel,
yes,
counseling, yeah, wisdom.
I agree actually, because there's a spiritual nature to the card too.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's the Hierophant. And they're similar figures.
yeah.
I wouldn't think any of the other minors though. I always love to see this card because it means you're building something. You're building something. It's going to be long lasting.
Yeah.
It's going to be something that's very sustainable. Um, it's mutually beneficial. It's something, and it's also something that you're going to be able to see like the physical results of. Like it's something that you're going to continue to enjoy because he's really making something beautiful, right? Like it's a beautiful ornate archway. It's not just, you know, an opening. Like there's detail to it. Okay.
Craftsmanship.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
word. Words are escaping me today. All
That's
right.
okay. They usually escape me. Usually fill in the blanks for me.
All right. Anything else for the Three of Pentacles, our teamwork card?
Now, is there a reason why the card is so dark from your study of the tarot? Why that
Mm,
it's like everything is so black behind it?
Honestly, that hasn't really come up. I can check Benadryl, but typically when things are black, So there's really a few cards that are notably like very dark cards, which is like the Nine of Swords, the Ten of
Mhm.
Swords,
Mhm.
and in like it can represent like an evening, it can
Right.
represent a mystery or an unknown.
Okay.
Um, and they're building an archway, so it could be like we're building this framework, we're building this doorway, but we're not sure like where it's going to lead.
Right.
It is a card of validation, so it could maybe be like that darkness is the unknown things, and then
Okay.
you get the consult, you get the validation, the
Yeah.
information. Um, but I haven't come across anything that I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember that's why that's completely black. But it's a standout because there's not a lot of all black shadows, and there's nothing in Benebell. She doesn't specifically point to anything, just with a quick scan. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Now the
Anything else?
four of no
Yeah, all right. Yeah, go ahead.
four of Pentacles.
Hmm.
So I would always say, that kind of that classic like miserly, right? He's holding
Hmm.
on to it. He's got his feet on it. He's got a crown on. He's got a coin on top of his head.
Yes.
But I've kind of changed, my feelings about it. You know,
Huh.
um, people say he's sitting on his wealth or his fortune, but to
Mm,
me, kind of how I've changed my view on this card is um, security, because I mean he's holding it, but he's not like wrapping his arms around it,
mm-hmm.
pulling it in. Um, I yeah, he's got the crown, which means king, wealthy.
Hmm.
He's sitting on a throne, like, and the town's far in the back. So he's
Hmm.
kind of out in the open with his money. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a gray background. He's black and red. It's not like it's yellow and orange and, super bright all over.
Yeah.
But to me, this card kind of signifies security in terms
Yes.
of health and wellness, or health and wealth. I keep saying wellness, health and wealth.
Okay. It's also walnuts. Like
Yeah.
I agree. And fours in numerology represent stability. And
Uh-huh.
this card is very symmetrical.
Yeah.
And he is sitting on that throne, which is a certain level of mastery, right? If we think of the kings in the tarot, which is
Yeah.
kind of, it's like the figure is it's almost like practicing, or like the mock throne, right? Because when we look at the King of Pentacles on the throne with the large crown, it's like this is what this figure is aspiring to be, or that's the energy that they're embodying or they're channeling, in order to maintain the stability. They're not hiding, they're like circling the coin, but they're very much connected to their resources, and it's
Yeah.
like a solid foundation. And sometimes I get this card as like people who work in the city. It's the rat race, right? The golden
Yeah.
handcuffs. It can really represent um, financial stability and growth. I'm trying to think of anything else. Different words.
Yeah. I
um,
mean, a friend of mine worked in one town and then bought a house really, really far away. And I had said to him, like, why don't you try to find work nearby? Like,
mhm,
I'm sure there's a lot more opportunities. And he said, it's kind of the golden handcuffs. I travel far for my job because they pay me well
mhm,
and I'm compensated well. And, there's some perks. They pay for my toll bill and gas. And so I said,
mhm,
okay, well, if you take out, if you remove the travel time and the fact that you're not paying for gas, you're not paying the tolls, your time is slightly reduced because you're not sitting in traffic and you get paid
mhm,
well and it's a job that that's kind of, when you said the golden handcuffs, this kind of reminds me of, like, they're very secure. They're
mhm.
willing to, yeah, be part of that rat race because of the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there were to come up in career,
Mhm.
I would definitely say your hard work is paying off, right? Like,
Yeah.
so if we're looking at it as progressive, it's like that skill, that thing that you went to learn, that you invested your time, maybe your finances in, you're able to monetize that skill. This could be somebody who is recovering after a period of financial instability, and they are very much holding on to their money, maybe unwilling to part with it because
Yeah.
they are very grateful for the foundation that they've worked very hard, um, that they've worked very, very hard to build. It could be investing in a small business, or it could be a very secure position at work. Even if it might not be the most exciting thing, it might be a little bit mundane, but it could be gives you routine, gives you structure, and gives you the money that you need. In order to kind of achieve, like, to me, this is someone who actually has work-life balance. Uh,
Hmm.
because it is a card of stability. And there's like a coin under each foot. The coins are going down the center, like from the crown to the heart. To me, this could also even be representing like taking your ideas and bringing them into the physical world,
Yeah.
and monetizing them, capitalizing on them. Um, there's very much like you're just valuing your a lot of what you've worked for, really
Mhm.
valuing your money is what I get from this card as well, in terms of career.
I get making money off of your side hustle from this card.
Yeah, I can see that. Uh,
What about health?
oh. This is my card of somebody who has mobility restrictions.
Hmm.
So somebody who might not be moving as much, or somebody who has regained their health after a period of ill health, or somebody who is not being honest about their health.
Mm.
And they're kind of like maybe keeping information close to them, or they're keeping certain symptoms close to them, because they fear greater consequence. Um, or this could be just like someone who's hyper focused on their health and their wellness. Sometimes this could be a card of like a hypochondriac.
Hmm.
Um, what about you? What do you get for health?
Yeah, for health, I was going to say somebody who has come through a period and they're finally at some sort of like remission, health stability. Maybe
Hmm.
they had a health scare. Maybe, now they're not taking things for granted. I kind of get a little bit of I get a little bit of like a recluseness. You
Yeah,
were saying immobility,
isolation.
but somebody who, maybe they're working out at home. Maybe they don't like to go to the gym. Maybe there's a little
Hmm.
bit of, you know, they don't like crowds kind of thing because they are quite removed from the city. This person,
Yeah,
so there is a little bit of isolation there.
there could be like
Um,
insecurity around their body.
yeah, yeah, trying to hide it. Definitely get
Yes.
that. Hmm.
And relationships.
Again, this is a very like independent card,
Hmm.
removed away from somebody. This is somebody, again, they're hiding, maybe they're afraid to show who they are. Maybe they're afraid to let themselves love or receive love. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think there's a component of like fulfillment in
Hmm.
terms of relationships, but not necessarily romantic.
Hmm.
Right? So this might be someone who likes to keep their friends and family close, but they're not willing to outwardly show love or feelings, or inwardly allow the reciprocation.
Yes.
Yeah.
This could be sometimes the card that Scorpios get a bad rap for too.
Do they really?
Yes, because sometimes people say that Scorpios like would appear to be like unfeeling or like they don't care or they're not
Yeah,
emotional. But it's
yeah,
not true. It's not true. Yeah, it's just very someone who's like, I agree, very guarded. Um, someone who's very like protective of their space, their physical space. Maybe they're unwilling to kind of invest because relationships at certain degrees, even your friendships, like you spend money, right? Like you go out, you like
yeah,
you go and do things, right? So
yeah,
this could be somebody who's maybe just staying in and like saving their money and going through a hermit phase.
exactly.
Um, but I definitely, because of the coin, that's almost like shielding their heart.
Yeah.
So this is somebody who is maybe struggling with opening up, or
Yes.
they are being very overprotective. To me, this is like they're boundaried, but they're protecting themselves to a point of isolation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Someone who's been burned.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Wounded.
Someone who's
Yes.
very much is cautious with trust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not a
absolutely.
scorpion scorn, just wounded. Maybe more of a crab.
It's true.
Cancer shell
Um,
right there, maybe. What do you think?
it is like a shell. It
Yeah.
is. Okay, health, career, finance, relationship. Anything else for this card?
No, I mean, I think talking about the career, health, and relationships for this card, I think has really kind of been able to open my mind a little bit more about what this card means in a good
Yeah,
way,
'cause
in a good way.
yeah,
Because
'cause when you first look at it, it looks simple,
yeah,
but there's a lot to it.
yeah.
Mm, okay. Anything else for this before we go on?
No, I'm
Nope.
good.
All right. The Five of Pentacles. Fun fact, this card followed me around for almost 2 years. I
How?
literally almost every spread for 2 years I pulled this card, or
Really?
someone pulled this card. Yeah. I was also highly nomadic during this period of time.
Right, right.
Um, but it was just like the uncanniness sometimes of tarot and the accuracy it's really interesting. Um, so fives represent change. And
Uh,
this card is very much the card of physical change, typically around people's home, living situations, job, career, financial situations. It's change. It does not necessarily mean it's changed for the worst. It just means that it's changed. So there are five pentacles that are on it is like the outside of a church. It's also the card of a miracle, which I also love. Because there's like that yellow vibrance that's in the window, and this is the outside of the same building where we have the figure from the Four of Swords. I'm just gonna get that one. Yeah. So from the Four of Swords, you can see the inside of the stained glass. And it's very much a card of like respite. Um, so in this scene, it is winter, it's snowing, it's cold. So we're seeing that nod to like endings of things, right? The winter is when things they die, they end. And it's a really quiet period. Sometimes people say it's like the children from A Christmas Carol. They'll
mhm.
sometimes that say that's who the figures represent. But overall, excuse me, um, they're people who are like sick and they're wounded. And then the one figure has a bell. And that used to be worn by people who I can't remember the illness off the top of my head, but you would hear them coming because of the bell around their neck.
Leprosy?
Yes. Um, And yes, so there's like a broken foot, there's
Yeah.
crutches, the woman doesn't have shoes on, their clothes are tattered. So it's very much like a long journey, like a long, arduous journey. Um, but it's funny because they're both kind of like not paying attention to like the hope and the light and the miracle that's like right behind them because they're just kind of um They're very much being tested.
Yeah.
And they might feel a bit they're still moving though, which I always think is interesting because sometimes the figures are still. So even though these people appear to be like down on their luck or in a period of change that has maybe taken them a bit off of guard, they're still moving. They're still moving forward. Excuse me. Um,
I never
okay.
got that until just now, until you said it. I never got that as like a movement card.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the symbol in like with the pentacles, how you have the two, and then the one on the top? Like that looks like a some sort of like
So it's supposed to be
hermetic
like
symbol.
the tree of life. It
Okay.
is. So there's different ways that the tree of life can appear. Um, and this one it's just like a more abstract version of it. Um, yeah. Because you can kind of see the other shapes. It's just the pentacles are covering them.
Yeah.
All right. So when you get this card, how do you normally read it for someone?
Yeah, for me, I get this card mostly as a loss. Some sort of loss has happened.
Hmm.
Um, maybe they've lost their health, maybe they've lost their home, maybe they've lost sight
Mm,
of good things around them. If that's a church right there and the lights are on inside, do they know they can go in and get warm, right? So
hmm.
I just kind of like to use the word loss. So yeah, like loss of perspective, loss of way, loss of health, loss of
Hmm.
financial resources. Maybe you're just a little bit down on your luck right now,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that right around the corner, or who's to say that the church isn't having a soup kitchen, right? And they're moving
Hmm.
towards a soup kitchen. It's just kind of that little snapshot in time where you see
Hmm.
these two people moving. Now that I know that, but looking weary, right?
Yes, they're weathered.
Yeah,
And the other interesting aspect of this card that was pointed out to me by someone was they're not alone.
they're
And I was
together.
like,
Yeah.
oh, that's like such a good way of looking at it, right? So like even though they've experienced maybe um financial change, job change, relationship
Hmm.
change, housing change, like they're not alone.
Hmm.
There's other people who are kind of in a similar experience or similar circumstance, and they're not alone in the journey, which is kind of nice, because there's the figure there, and then there's the illumination that's coming from the church. So support is always available, even
Yeah.
in times where you might feel you're in a winter season, right? In a
Right.
season of like endings and change. That there's still kind of like that spiritual element of help and then the physical element of help as well. Um, so health, I think this one, I actually pull this one quite a bit for health.
Okay.
It could be someone who's literally broken something or just someone who's kind of
Yeah.
experiencing like a period of ill health
Yeah.
or change in
Yeah.
their health. And just depending on the cards around them, it would say whether that is a change for the good or a
Right.
change for the worse. Um, I know sometimes people typically see this as a negative card, but I've really tried to reframe it as more of a positive, hopeful card. Just saying that even if you're struggling, or even if these changes have, maybe someone got like health news out of this is someone who's like, oh my God, I've received this out of nowhere. um, it's something that really takes you off guard.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was going to say, what does the church offer? They offer a refuge, right? So maybe
yeah,
this is time to, maybe you've been out on your luck in terms of like health, depression, addiction. When I think of the church, they also offer AA programs as well,
yeah,
helping you get off the streets, back into some sort of routine. If you're not homeless
yeah,
or unhoused, I just kind of think about what that represents. You're moving towards, the open door. You're moving towards potential of like ill health, you're coming around, there's a change, you're coming around in terms of like your mental health, if the darkness was a depression for you or
Mhm.
addiction. And so in terms of, yeah, in terms of health, I kind of like to look at it that way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It could also be sometimes this is just the fear of
Yeah,
it hasn't actually happened yet. It could just be someone who is like afraid of losing their autonomy or losing
right,
their mobility
exactly.
or
Yeah,
losing their health.
yeah,
Um, Sometimes it'll come up in that sense as well. Which to me is an anxiety. In career, what do you get for career?
yeah. And for career, this might be, kind of like recent past lost job.
Mhm,
This could be fear of losing a job.
mhm,
Um, you know, in terms of people's finances, being, losing your home or losing your job, which would then, kind of make the bills a little bit difficult to to pay for. I know that
mhm,
sometimes, like if workplaces are going to start layoffs, like they announce
mhm.
it, and so
Yeah,
this could just be the fear around loss.
yeah,
Hmm.
I agree. And this is like I got laid off and I pulled this card around the time I
Oh
experienced
yeah,
layoff as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and it could also represent like a career change out of
yeah,
nowhere, right? Like moving from
yeah,
one area of expertise into another, and it's kind of like the adjustment period of
yes.
moving from stability to security. Yeah. Um, Relationship. I think that's the last one that we
Hmm.
haven't covered.
So, I mean, this could be in terms of like a loved one. This could be a loved one lost. Again, this card comes
Yeah.
up for grieving as well. Um, there's that always that component of hope, right? When you think about the church and what that stands for is hope and faith.
Mhm,
Um, I think in terms of relationships, they're moving towards it. So, um, I just kind of get that image of like, um, of this couple that I've seen, and they're not, maybe they're not together, maybe they are together, but they have substance addiction and they're homeless, but they're always together. They have a dog and they're always smiling and they're always
yeah.
moving. I kind of get that for them, but these two kind of seem like two peas in a pod. So
Mhm,
in terms of relationships, I think it's looking at change for whatever reason, but there's the ability to rely on the community that's around you, your support
mhm,
system, and that you're not alone. I don't know particularly if I get anything for like romance other than like maybe a relationship has ended or one's moving a little bit slower than the other, so maybe it's starting to part ways and you're starting to feel a little bit of the loss of that
mhm.
noticeable, palpable split between you and your partner. Yeah,
Exactly. Or it could be like a couple that's going through a hard time together
right.
too. It could.
Even financial hardship together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm just trying to think. Anything else? Really
No.
testing the resources in this card. But there's
Yeah.
so much like and again, it's simple imagery, but it's so layered the more that like you get into it.
Yeah.
Then you could even look like the one figure, um, like they both have their heads covered, the mental aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving footprints, right?
Yeah.
Um, Anyways. Final thoughts for the Five of Pentacles?
No, I mean, there's a lot there. I'm
Mhm.
sure you could go into the tree of life and, talk about all that. But just intuitively, what I get from the card, looking at the
Yeah.
different three topics is, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Enduring. It's very much an enduring
Yes.
card. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Whenever that's normally something that I would advise someone. This too shall pass. All right, the Six of Pentacles. So, um, this is very much a card of charity, philanthropy, benevolence, giving, receiving, help, generosity, balancing. So we have the scales in the left hand, and the scales can be, it's really interesting to get people's perspective on the scales. So from an astrological perspective, it can represent the scales of Libra.
Hmm.
And I have a Libra moon, very much relationships, being balanced in relationships. Sometimes people also see these as the scales represented as our passage from death to the afterlife.
Okay.
So when you weigh um, your heart against a feather, um, and whether or not you'll be allowed into the afterlife, right? So
Mhm.
it's like people look at this as different. You can go very, very deep into this card. But that's a scale. So overall, it's the balancing of the weighing, the measure of one thing against another. Um, and then we have the Six Pentacles, which are kind of like evenly balanced. In the one hand, he's pouring coins, and then in the other person who is appearing to receive in the blue cloak, there's like a red kind of paper sticking out. Sometimes it could represent maybe like hidden information,
Mhm.
or like being careful of who you're giving to. Very much generosity. I'm just trying to think. Um, some people say it's the people that are out in the cold from the five, now
Okay.
having found like a benefactor in the six or someone to help them.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say this, and then the person's trying to decide like what kind of generosity to give to which person. That could be some way to look at it. Sometimes people will see the figures represented as someone who is actually like in poverty and requires the assistance, and then
Uh-huh.
someone who is almost like feigning it in order to receive more help than they actually need. Sometimes people can read it as that as well. Um, just anything else? Those are kind of like the major symbols that I get off the top.
So for me, I kind of look at the Four of Pentacles in the red row with a little bit of the blue. That one was somebody who was, kind of closed off, but had some financial securement.
Hmm.
This one is feeling confident and comfortable that they feel, and so you were talking about the scales of Libra, but also balancing a
I
little
knew it.
bit.
Yeah.
And so for me, I get a little bit more of a feeling of reciprocity. So now you're at a stage where, you have financial securement. You're
Mhm.
not necessarily being charitable, but you're in a financial place that if somebody were to say like, hey, I need a little bit of a handout, that you can do it.
Yeah.
Or in terms of like work or relationships, it's a little bit of give and take, right? And that's where I get a
Yeah.
little bit of the scales. It's a little bit of a development from the Four of Pentacles. And
Mhm.
then there is also a little bit of that giving back component, and not necessarily financial. I know it's
Yeah.
representative with him dropping the coins in the hands of somebody who's asking for a handout. But to me, this is somebody who's in a place either financially, um, uh, career wise, or like relationship wise, that they can give back to their community. They can give sound business advice, finance advice, kind of thing. And that's how I kind of see um, the charity component, right? Of
Mhm.
them just being able to be confident and in a place where they can, you know, give advice, money, food,
Yeah.
yeah,
Resources.
resources, yeah.
Absolutely. It depends on which figure you're drawn to in the
Right.
reading, because you'll be drawn to like a different, but typically the figure in the middle, You know, they're like ornately dressed, they're in a position, they're comfortable,
Yeah.
and they're able to give. So in health, this one in health can come up. It to me, this is where it would be dependent on what other cards were pulled. I
Yeah.
would like want another card with it. So this could be somebody who is sometimes I get this almost like Three of Pentacles vibe from this card, like someone who's maintained an element of health, or
Hmm.
they've improved their health to a point that now they're also able to share that with others,
Yeah.
in a way that they'll be able to um, like improve their own condition.
Yeah.
Um, it could be a caution card, like be careful like who you're taking advice from, or be careful
Mhm.
like of how you're taking that information, or maybe like getting another opinion. Health, sometimes this one is a bit difficult. But I also tend to go back just because like I love the afterlife. It's very I come back to the scales.
Mhm.
And it could be like someone heart condition. It could
Okay.
be someone approaching end of life as well.
Right.
And it also could be someone deciding like, do I invest? You're right. Do I invest the time, or do I like continue to lead an unhealthy path?
Right.
Or it might be somebody who has to like invest in special care, or who's going to receive like benefit coverage, or they're going to receive
Yeah.
like the assistance that they need in order to maintain a better quality of life. Mhm.
Yeah, in terms of health, this is, I mean, if you're thinking of the person, and they need a handout, this could be somebody who, is going to get possibly the resources for their home. Like
Mhm.
maybe they're going to get a
A
new,
list, or
like
yeah,
a, yeah, like a bathtub turned into a shower,
yeah.
or someone's going to donate a wheelchair. It just means that, something good is going to come for you in terms of health. I guess, uh, that's kind of like receiving charity kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, this could also be somebody who has worked on themselves and feels confident and comfortable, and other people might recognize that, and be like, "Oh, Amber, you look so radiant. What did you do?" And you say, "Well, I started this diet. I've been on it for 3 months." And now you're getting that advice to say, like,
Hmm.
I'm sleeping better. I feel better. I have more energy, kind of thing. And you're kind of that person who's just kind of sharing uh,
Yeah.
the wealth of what you've benefited from, kind of thing.
And it's absolutely, I get that the benefit, or I get that the person, this generous person in it is someone who it's they've earned it themselves,
Yeah.
like people can amass financial wealth in many ways, right? Could be through inheritance, could be through like a windfall. To me,
Mhm.
I always see this as someone who has worked hard for what they've been able to establish financially.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always kind of get that from like they really appreciate, and they've worked hard for it, and they want to give it in a meaningful way. They want to give back, or they want to support in a meaningful way.
I also get too that if somebody is like a cancer survivor, if they end up going to
Mm.
like a cancer support group and just kind of sharing their story, or like becoming like a motivational speaker kind of thing, going to schools. I'm just trying to think of that. Oh God, what is his name? His name is on schools, and I can't remember it, but he's in a wheelchair.
Oh.
Not Hancock. Is it Michael Hancock? No. Anyways, but I'm just thinking, like sharing his story of triumph and overcoming,
Yeah.
um, his, you know, challenges in life to motivate other people.
And
Yeah.
it's very much also, it could be like a recovery card,
Yeah.
right? Like it could be like a recovery chip, or someone giving a recovery chip. Because the model, it's also very much based on um kind of like getting yourself to a secure spot and then going and back and helping someone else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Uh Career.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably somebody who, you know, I kind of think of like Shark Tank a little bit. You know, these people have
Hmm.
built up their wealth in their business, and now they're at a point where, or like you and your other ventures, where you now are able to take your abilities and help other people,
Hmm.
right? So, you know, on Shark Tank, it's these people who have connections to manufacturing or whatever, and they help these new business people. So, in terms of career, this is somebody who has developed themselves. Maybe they're now a mentor,
Yeah,
right? Maybe they're in a leadership position and they're, you know, they're hiring or training new people, kind of, you know, and really this could be like in the blue collar sector as well. Like maybe
yeah,
you're a master electrician and now you're taking college students, kind of thing.
yeah.
Just kind of have that expertise, and now that you can kind of share it.
I agree. It can also be like money's coming to you.
Mhm.
Um, absolutely. And then
Just thinking that
relation.
your, you know, your Christmas bonus is coming.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
I
or
miss
it could be like
bonuses.
record, or it could also, it could be like recognition, like financial recognition for like hard work too. And in relationships, it's interesting because this is a relationship card that I get, and it typically revolves around um the rebalancing of like, depending on who you're talking to, like domestic duties
Yeah,
or sitting and agreeing on a budget,
yeah,
or sitting and agreeing on contributions in general, like to the relationship.
yeah.
Um, absolutely. Just trying to think of anything else for relationship wise. This one I would also sometimes caution someone to be like, are you giving more? Not that it's like you're not like keeping score, right?
Right.
That's not what it's about. And relationships are, there's going to be periods where you might be giving more, periods where you might need to receive more help. But it's the awareness that there's kind of like this seesaw effect or like that scaled
Hmm.
effect. Um, and just to like be mindful, like are you always giving or are
Right.
you always receiving or like
Right.
it's just, to me it's always kind of like maybe check in and just make sure that you're on the same page, or maybe you like one partner needs, you know what, they're like I'm actually like struggling and I need to step back a little bit and the other partner needs to step in a little bit more, so it's
Mhm.
kind of like those types of conversations typically in a relationship context. This will come, or it also could be like divorce proceedings,
Right.
or people who are going, you know, through dividing their assets.
I was going to say
um
that. Yeah.
yeah, um very much a card of that. um Other than that, yeah, that's all I kind of get for relationships with this card.
I would 100% agree on, like, you have the scales, you have somebody who's like giving and somebody who's taking. And so,
Hmm.
is, you know, is this a time to, yeah, rebalance the relationship? Is one person always giving, one person always taking?
Hmm.
But also checking in, like, is that okay for you? Right? Is
Yeah,
this the dynamics? Are you happy with that? Are they happy
yeah,
with that? You know, not every relationship has to be balanced at all times. There is
no.
that give and take, but are you always giving and are they always taking? So to me, again, this is just kind of like that question to them. You know, this card to me means that there could be an imbalance in the relationship.
To me, this card is always like a conversation needs to be had.
Yeah,
Because even if you guys think you're on this, like you think you're on the same page, like say you're like, oh, I just want general advice, I'd be like, you might just bring it up, you know?
right,
There might be something that you might not even be aware of.
right.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Anything else? Final thoughts for this card? Nope. All right. Seven of Pentacles, the card of work. So I like this card.
Mhm.
So it's very much starting to show the harvest, right? We're very much starting to see like, okay, if we're imagining kind of this bush that the figure's looking at as like, these are all the things I've been working on and I've been nurturing and I've been showing up for and I've been investing in. Now it's really starting to show kind of like the fruits of your labor. And it's interesting because there's like the 6 pentacles that are still in the shrub, but he's only harvested 1 coin.
Right.
So this is an indication of future success and making sure to enjoy a little bit, right? But not
Mhm.
kind of taking the whole thing at this point. Um I think this is also I think they're grapevines actually, because in the king, yeah. So at this point, like the vines and the bushes, they're maturing, but the fruit isn't there yet. So it's like we're almost there. Like we're almost at a time to harvest. And grapes, they grow in very specific conditions too. So it's something that you're very like specialized in. And like requires like a lot of effort. Um, It can also be like a card of like rest and contemplation before you consider investing more into it. Those are like the primary symbols that I get from this card.
Yeah, I mean, he's resting on his rake or his hoe or shovel or spade or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the things that haven't really grown, right? And you said that he did harvest one. So for me, what I get from this is just as you said, contemplate, stop, rest.
Yeah.
I get evaluate with this, right?
Hmm.
So
I like that.
like just take stock, evaluate. Is this worth investing? Is it going to grow? Is it going to come to fruition? Or do I just kind of take what I have and be happy with it?
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, so for me, this is kind of like one of those stop moment cards and just kind of evaluate how long you've come. I mean, this is the 8 or the 7.
Yeah,
You've come, a long way, and yeah, it's kind of like that turning point. Make your pros and cons list.
it's true.
Hmm.
This is like the light at the end of the tunnel, you know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
okay, so if this, I'm just trying to see anything else I have. Promotion, harvest, fiscal responsibility, patience, hard work, waiting, delayed success.
Mhm.
Um, so if this were to come up, like let's just start with like career and finance.
Right.
To me, these are it could be like investments, right?
Hmm.
So it could be like, oh, I'm seeing like my investments start to mature and maybe you get paid a dividend, right? But like you're not like cashing out your stock yet. Your stock hasn't fully realized its potential.
Right.
Um, from because I very much get this is I don't know why the next few cards are like my banking cards.
Okay.
So it's like you have savings, right? So it's like
Right.
looking at your savings. Career wise, it could just be um maybe someone who doesn't feel like they got a big enough raise.
Right.
Um, right? So it could be like, look at all this work that I've done, and this is the 1 coin that I get. And so they could be like reevaluating, do
I've
I
been
want to
there.
continue? Yeah. We've all been
My
there.
50-cent raise, yeah, I'll find another job. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, yeah. Or it could be also like if you're project based and this is something like you could have project fatigue and you're
Right.
just like, like, okay, but you're almost there, you're almost at the end. And it's just could be like, do I need to reevaluate where I'm putting my effort and my resources to get a better outcome? Or do I need to call for help, right? Because the figure's alone. So we could very much say that up until this point that they've been doing it alone.
Right.
So maybe they need to call in help.
So in terms of investing, that's what that like everything you just said in terms of like what do I do with my money? It's not growing. Do I ask for help? Looking at your different like stock options or investment options.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of career, I get, yeah, take a moment and evaluate, am I getting enough out of this job?
Mm-hmm.
From like a personal fulfillment component, as well as the financial component of it. Are
Mm-hmm.
you being compensated good enough? Do you feel good about your job? Like, look at him. He's like looking at it like,
Like,
do I love it? Um,
the golden handcuff fatigue. Like,
yeah,
I know this gives me comfort and stability and success, but am I
yeah,
happy?
yeah,
Mhm. Um,
I know.
he's so cute. Um, and then relationship.
So this is someone I think who is reevaluating their relationship. This
Yeah.
is somebody who, I mean, maybe it was a long-term relationship, and there are moments in relationships where people aren't in love with them.
Mhm.
But you live with them, you have your life with them, they're your companion, and so this is, um, I had a friend who their kids are grown now,
Mhm.
and one day she was like, I'm in love with my husband again.
Aw.
And I was like,
So cute.
oh, you guys seem to get along. She's like, I know, but when the kids are going to their sports and you're going to work and I travel and da 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 da, and you just kind of are in tandem with each other. And that's just it. You're in tandem with each other.
Mhm.
You go to bed, you watch TV, you go to the park, watch your kids' sports. And she said, I had a moment to step back and see him with the kids. And she was like, oh man, like I really love him. Like
Aw.
I'm in love with my husband again. And I was like, oh,
Aw.
that's nice
That's
to
so
hear. I know, but
cute.
so I get a little bit of that with this card.
Mhm.
But I also get it being long and arduous too, right? A long, hard relationship.
Yeah.
And you just kind of contemplating, am I in it? Am I getting enough from this relationship? Friendship, relationship, work partnership,
Mhm.
um, family.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what I get from relationships is again, it's that pause, it's the reflection, it's kind of that pros and cons. What can you take away? What can you reevaluate? Um, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a decision card per se, but it's
No, it's an
reflection.
evaluation card.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. This is like I'm thinking, I'm thinking.
yeah,
I agree. I don't really have anything else, like someone who's just considering all of those things.
mhm,
There's almost like a nostalgic element to it too. Like, oh, like remember when,
yeah,
in the terms of relationship.
yeah,
What about for health? Health, this is like a
For-
long-term, like,
yeah. Long, long, slow.
but sometimes this could be like you're healthy and you're just kind of like, oh, I do all these things. You know what I
I was
mean?
gonna say, yeah, this could be somebody who's like, I go to the gym 6 days a week, and I am
Yeah.
working on my diet. And again, that might not just be your exercise or your diet. That might actually be something health. But it's an opportunity to reflect and say, like, have I been doing the same workout? Have
Yeah.
I been, not having a good diet? Have I
Yeah.
been
Change
indulging? Have
routine.
I
Yeah.
So again, it's a stop and reflect on maybe the things that you've been doing, the patterns that you've been in. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, in terms of health. Someone who's had a long journey with their health,
Yeah.
um, with a long, like I get cancer, that's a very long illness, heart disease, that's a
Yeah.
very long illness. Um, and yeah, I kind of get like a little bit of exhaustion here too, right?
I
And
get, yeah.
and that happens with chronic illnesses. And again, it's just a moment to stop, reflect, um, evaluate your life, where things are going, your treatment plan, your overall
Hmm.
health, your quality of life,
Hmm.
um, and then like what's next? I don't know, but yeah,
I agree. It's like the mundane has almost taken over
yeah,
too. So they're kind of like bored and they're kind of like, all right, but they're wearing orange. So it's like they're bored, but they have like this passion element, right? This fire element, and they're just kind of like, oh, like sitting there, just kind of like looking at it,
Mm-hmm.
contemplating.
Mm-hmm.
This could also be like go and reconnect with nature. And this
Yes.
could be like diet because he's really looking, he's like in the garden,
Yeah.
right? So it could be like, maybe look at your diet, go outside.
Drink more wine.
Yeah, exactly. Balance.
Yeah.
Um, right. Anything else for the seven?
No.
Okay. And the eight. So now we have the figure back, arguably who we saw in the Three of Pentacles. We have the workbench. He has the mallet, and he's like carving like the detail into the coin. So this is very much to me like a detail aspect card.
Mhm.
It's a organized card as well because the six coins, they're very much in order in this card. The figure's working on one, and then we could argue and say like that one coin that's on the ground is the one that's completed. And it's interesting because again, like we're outside of the town, so there is like this community aspect or this kind of like commerce aspect that goes alongside of it. Like whereas the six, we're in the country, we're in the garden. I mean, sorry, the seven, and then the eight, we have the city popping up again in the background. So some type of like specialization, um, working hard. What words do I have here? Again, the apprenticeship card is coming back again. Natural gifts in a craft, mastering a craft, fulfilled work, organized purpose, and this very steady Eddie. Um, I get like a very methodical approach to things.
Mhm.
There is the gray sky, and the gray represents confusion, and my ears just started ringing as soon as I said that. So it could be somebody who is working and kind of doing like the day to day, but they're not sure what to do. Like I can relate to
Mhm.
that, right? There's still some confusion of like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going, right? Because like I need to pay my bills and I need, to be doing these things, but like overall might be someone who because he's not really looking at anything. It's like he's caught up in the tasking of things.
Right.
Hmm. Anything else in this card?
Yeah,
Um,
I think you've said it all. I get a little bit like the things that I have for it is mastery and
mm,
refinement. So
hmm
you can see that he's like taking the pentacles off the wall or the tree and he's like refining it. There is a
hmm
mastery, a craftsmanship to it, which takes time to develop, as well as, some passion and some artistry,
Yeah.
creativity to it. Again, he's alone.
Yeah.
So I get a little bit of like, you know, coming along this path independently. Um, yeah.
hmm I agree. So for health, to me, this is like someone who has found a system or someone who's found an organized approach to their health or someone who's found a routine that's at least keeping them going, or someone who is trying to like they're successfully integrating something new into their routines. Or this could literally kind of touching both worlds. This could be like a doctor or a plastic surgeon or somebody who does some type of work with their hands, right?
Yeah.
Um, or like a chiro or I don't know why I get bones like
Yeah.
um a very like skill this is like skilled work. This isn't
Yeah.
just like I got a job. This is like again going back to the vocation thing. Like it could be like I'm just doing the things of a job, but overall it's working towards material comfort and stability, health wise, or someone who's really just working on their health.
Right.
Anything else for health?
I get somebody who is narrowing their focus on something,
Mm, hate that.
or if they're mastering something in terms of health, this could be someone, you were saying like a doctor or surgeon or a plastic surgeon or a chiropractor. I'm also thinking a little bit too of like a dietitian or like a naturopathic
Yes,
dietitian. Is that what you call it? Naturopathic dietitian. Anyways,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Um,
Holistic wellness, basically.
Holistic, yes, holistic nutrition. That's what I'm
Hmm.
thinking. A little bit more skilled, right? Like
Hmm.
if you look at health on a very general, this is narrowing the scope down.
Yeah.
This could be somebody who specializes in like, I'm thinking of like somebody who just reattaches retinas, right? They can do
Hmm.
all of these eye surgeries, but they're like the expert in that one little thing.
Hmm.
This is somebody who's narrowing their focus as well to doing something better. Like, so if you're going to the gym, you're like, you now have a focused plan. If you're working on your health, you have, a focus towards something related to your health. This isn't a card to me of illness. This is more of a card of fine tuning your knowledge or your health just a little bit more,
Hmm.
or seeing someone, having an appointment with someone who's just a little bit more specialized.
Yeah, and it's someone who's like they take their health seriously, right? Because they're like actively like working on it.
Mhm.
Um, where sometimes, some of the other cards, you could say like, are they, lit probably five of pentacles would be the best example. Um, are these people, are they working towards bettering or are they going further away, right? Where this is someone who's like, I'm invested, I'm focused, like I'm
Yeah,
taking this seriously, I've set up,
I'm
yeah,
researching.
yeah, yeah. And career, to me, this is someone who's like approaching a promotion or somebody who is coming to the completion of their apprenticeship
Hmm.
or someone who is done their apprenticeship and like starting to open their business, right? Because it's like, okay, I've mastered the school aspect, the educational aspect. And so now it's like, okay, now I need to put my business hat on and create my business from this.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I get in terms of like career, I get like going from student to worker. I
Yeah.
get somebody who is now doing research and working on a PhD.
Yeah.
Um, I get somebody who is an artisan who's now selling their wares at like flea markets and
Yeah.
plazas and
Yeah.
things like that. Somebody who's making a move to, they kind of hit that mastery kind of phase, fine tuning it. Somebody who maybe this is like an artist who has a show coming up and now they have to amass
Hmm.
their art so that they have something to show. And that this is what I get from that
I
work.
like that.
Um, this could also be like, I don't know if you're a teacher, um, maybe you're working on your teaching plans or you are being recognized for your teaching plans.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of
Or
like business world, maybe this is you, I don't know, like maybe you have to create a manual, like a workplace manual, like even if it's just like standard operating practices, but like you're the one compiling it, doing the
mhm,
work or overseeing it kind of thing.
creating courses,
Yeah,
long-term planning, right?
yeah.
So you can be planning out, like I plan 3 to 6 months if my business, right? I'm like, what am I doing in the fall? What am I doing in the new year? How is this all making? But there's a cohesion to it, right? There's like a progression to it. Um, and then in relationship, so this could be somebody who's working really hard on themselves.
Yes.
We're gonna put
Again, they're
that.
solo, right? This is
Yeah,
very independent, away from, yeah, working on mastery of some sort.
yeah, yeah. And if this person is in a relationship and this card comes up, then I might be like, I would look to the other cards around it, and it might be something that this person is working on. They may or may not have an awareness of.
Yeah.
Or this person could be the only one working on the relationship.
Yeah, that too. I get that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, either
Uh,
you don't know,
yeah.
maybe you're working so hard on yourself that you have no other like you can't see you know you have blinders on, or this is the person who's like really working hard. Um, same,
Yeah.
same
The
thing. Yeah.
relationship is not very balanced. Anything else? General or otherwise?
I mean, this could also be somebody who's focused on their partner a little bit too much, right? So we were saying
Yeah.
like they're hyper focused on fixing themselves, but maybe this is this is someone who oh, I got like an internal feeling. This is someone who's trying to mold their partner.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else. Hard work. Just where is that effort and energy going? Yeah. All right. Anything else for the 8?
No.
Okay. And the 9. I love this card. This is a good one. So this is the 9 of Pentacles. So she has 6 pentacles to the one side, 3 pentacles to the other. We can see those grape leaves have now the fruit has ripened and it's showing itself. She also has a falcon, so there's some element of like mastery and training or messages coming through. Um, there's really I like this card too because it's like it's protected. So it's like she's in her garden, but there's like this, I don't know, it just feels very protected, even though there's the mountains and there's the city in the background. And she's really enjoying her material success. And she's really
Yeah.
enjoying the physical reward of her labor. And sometimes people say, because there's of how the pentacles are distributed, some people think that it's like the 6 she gives, like in the 6 of Pentacles, and then the 3 she keeps for herself. So sometimes people can read that aspect of it. Um, any other major symbols? We got the grape leaves, we got the falcon. Um, there's this snail in the front, which is just honestly, it's things moving. Snails are a bit delicate though. So it's things that are moving slowly. These things have taken time. Um, trying to think of any other symbols in here. What do you get with this card?
Because everything is so yellow and
Mm-hmm.
gold and her pose and her falcon, and the grapes, you know, maybe she's enjoying the money her winery makes. The term I get from this, and other decks, I see it as well, is very regal, relaxed, luxurious. So that's what I get from this card is luxury, being able
Mhm.
to reap the reward and live, you know, for some people, boxed wine and Salisbury steak is like a rich dinner. Go for it, you know.
Yeah,
And for other people, it's a little bit more of a lavish lifestyle. But
yeah.
this is somebody who's definitely reaping the rewards of, you know, again, you see the grapes, the fruition of their wealth.
And this is like, even if it, again, like, well, it's a spectrum.
Right.
Luxury is a
Yeah.
spectrum,
Yeah.
right? People have different ways that they perceive luxury.
Mhm.
Um, but I like this because it's like, even because arguably, like compared to like the 10, like the other cards, she doesn't have a like a ton, because it could be like the 6 is like what creates her comfort and the things that she
Yeah.
has to put out in the world. So she really only has like those 3 pentacles.
Mhm.
It's really prioritizing like where you're putting your money. buying well as opposed like less is more kind of thing, right? There's a quality element to this card that I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have prosperity, refinement, independence. This is independent wealth, independent security. This is financial security earned by hard work and specialization, luxury, self-sufficiency, financial gain, material comfort. So
Yeah. And I get that too, the material comfort component of it, right? Like just,
yeah,
and this could be that person who like always has dreamed of owning a home and then finally getting the home, right? Like,
yeah,
you know,
goals realized.
yeah, goals realized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And there is this element of control, because the bird has a hood, right? And typically like they're messengers or they bring information, right? So it's like this is someone who has like their spending under control, or there's in a, we're gonna say this is a healthy form of control.
Hmm.
um or that they're very much able to tap into these skill sets if they need to get information or to communicate, or you know what I mean, like to bring more prosperity. um all right, so health wise, this is someone in very good health. This is just like you have, you know, mind, body, spirit, like everything, right? On all the planes, physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. And somebody who has also understands their body, and understands um kind of like the connection, you know, if I do this, this is the effect my body will have. Like body awareness, maybe that's
Hmm.
the better word, right? Because it could be like up until this point, you're learning about your body, and it's like now you've kind of reached that awareness. You know, if I eat uh for me, like if I eat eggs, I get inflamed. Those
Right.
types of things, right? Or so very much having this knowledge base of yourself, but very much understanding the impacts that your actions have on your health is what I get from this card. Because not everybody has that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mhm,
I was gonna say like a good mind body connection. You can see like her pose is very relaxed.
mhm,
She kind of knows where everything is. You know, the term of like knowing that your feet are underneath you or like where your
mm,
arm is in space is called proprioception.
mm,
You know, and then having the eagle or the falcon or the hawk blindfolded, if they
mhm,
were, I mean, they're not going to fly because they can't see, but being blindfolded, you know, if you were to stand on one foot, how are you able to balance? Is because your mind knows where your foot is.
mm,
It can sense that you have solid ground underneath you. So, um, yeah, just to kind of what I get from the card is like that really good mind body connection. She
mhm,
is carrying herself well, which, you know, she looks good, she feels good. That helps with
mhm,
the mental health. The mental health helps with the body. The body, you know, and it's just kind of that cyclical
mhm,
connection that you know how one thing affects the other thing
mhm.
positively
Absolutely.
or negatively, but in this term positively.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
self-esteem.
Yeah.
In health wise, this could also, coming back to the fertility conversation,
Mm.
this could be somebody who is freezing their eggs, right? With the 6 on one
Okay.
side and the 3 on the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's come up in that context as well. Um, Anything else for this card? Oh, wait, career.
Hmm. This person's at the top of their game.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, they are confident. They are happy with whatever income they're getting. Uh, I don't, you know, it's not really somebody who's pursuing something. It's just kind of that person who's just really confident and comfortable with their position within the company, with the amount of money they're making, with, you know, how they spend their money, how they enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Anything else?
agree.
Okay.
Could be someone like retirement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
taking out your investments, enjoying it, not having a mortgage,
Yeah,
right?
financial freedom. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really like having autonomy. I see this
yeah,
card of like being
yeah.
able to do what you want. Yeah. And relationship wise, what would you say with this card?
Um, Relationship wise, she definitely seems like a very comfortable, independent woman,
Hmm.
right? So I get from this card, I can see in terms of relationships, being really comfortable with yourself, not being lonely while being alone.
Mm,
Um,
I like that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, you know, by all means, she could be standing there waiting for someone to come up to her. So
Hmm.
it's also a little bit of like an open. So if somebody is single and they want to get back out there, this could symbolize to me that if you look good, feel good, you have confidence, you're happy to be alone with your own company, you're then able to invite that relationship into your life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't really have relationship wise more to
No.
add.
Yeah.
Anything else for this card?
Um, no, I mean, with all the yellow in it, the yellow gold gown, the
Mm-hmm.
red, the passion, the grapes, it's just a very positive, kind of successful card for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And the 10.
Yeah.
This card is so much. So the 10 of Pentacles, just general overall, is stability, prestige, aristocracy, legacy, retirement, inheritance, wise investment, financial stability. There are so many little things in this card that we can look at. I'm trying to figure out the best way. Okay, I guess I'll start at the top. So at the top, we have like the shield, almost like a coat of arms. So there's really like this nod to protection.
Mhm.
And they're standing in the archway before the entrance of the city. So this is again another like protection, guardianship is being portrayed here as well. There is the figures, you could argue that they're family and they're multi-generational. So there's children, there's young people, adults, and then there's elderly people as well. There's the dogs, which can represent loyalty. And then there's actually there's a hidden dog here as well, which sometimes can signify hidden wealth, hidden money. And I didn't know that. And then someone pointed it out to me. Um, and then I never used to be able to see it. And now I can see it, which is like really interesting. What else do we have? So we have like the checkered going around, which can represent like momentum, beginnings, endings, and it's framing this kind of like diorama that's very detailed. So again, like something that's taken time, something that has been well cared for, or really like well thought out. What else do we have here? Um,
Beside the checkers, is that just a castle, or would you? To me, that looks like the tower in the distance.
yeah, it's the tower.
Yeah.
So it's very much like the journey that it's taken to get there. But so it could be like the actual like the tower card, which really opens us up to a new way of thinking.
Hmm.
And it's something that like kind of blows apart anything that was temporary or built on unsecure ground, right?
Hmm.
It's just so that things that have a more solid foundation can be built in its place. What else do we have here? Um, the older man. And his garb, like he's very like ornate, right? Like the robe that he's wearing. So that represents a certain element of status,
Mhm.
comfort, personal expression, self-expression coming along with it. Um, Let me see. We have the children, which is like generations and youth. Overall, it's like a very positive card.
Yeah.
So it can talk about like inheritance or legacy. Those are kind of more the traditional elements of the card. Depending on how it like comes up in a reading. It can be like a wedding or like a good symbol for like a relationship or long-term success. And again, the coins, they're in the shape of the tree of life. So it
They
represents each of the
are.
spheres. Yeah. The tree of life is actually something like will probably be one of my next rabbit holes to go down. But it's very much it's synergistic with the tarot because it's these
It is.
different experiences that we have that help our soul evolve and
Right.
elevate. And this is like you've gone through all these different experiences for you to reach this level of stability, completion, and comfort and maturity. So this is like excuse me, investments that have matured. Um, it could be like, whereas in the Five of Pentacles, you know, we found the two figures who are kind of out on their luck together. This could be like, you know, you've grown through hard times with people and now you're in a period of prosperity.
Hmm.
Um, Represents a lot of times this will come up with like home. So sometimes people inherit property,
Right.
buying, selling a home. This will come up. Um, it's kind of off the top of my head what I have for now. What about you? What do you see in this card?
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, mostly I get the inheritance and I get the legacy, right? Um, you know, there's the thought that people have children for the um, selfish reason of carrying on a legacy, right? The legacy of a
Mhm.
family name. People had lots of children to help on a farm, but then, there's the other component of like, why do people have children? Is it to see your genes expanded? Is it, all those other reasons? For me, though, with it being the Pentacles, I don't necessarily get anything about like, um, anything negative about family, heritage, lineage, anything like that, other than maybe a little bit of nostalgia, or you come from a long line of, family, multi-generational family. Uh,
Mhm.
I know people who are orphans in their 30s and
Mhm.
40s. This might just signify that you have a lot of like, I'm in a family today, there's 5 generations, great grandma, grandma, or sorry, great great grandma, grandma, no, great great grandma,
Wow.
great grandma, grandma, daughter, baby.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
I know. And I was like, I don't know how this could happen, but everyone is really healthy and they're all
Good
alive. So I was
genes.
like,
Good
okay.
genes.
But to me, this card kind of signifies that long lineage,
Mhm.
maybe multi generations and the closeness because everyone is kind of in that same area.
Mhm.
I see a little bit of loyalty happening there just because the dogs and the master.
Mhm.
And I like that little bit of like secrecy of the dog underneath the cape or whatever that gentleman is wearing.
Mhm.
Or I see like inheritance or like money coming down the line kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
In terms of like I know you were saying protection with the shield.
Yeah.
But also again along the lines of like passing down your family's name, that legacy component of it.
Mhm.
In Scotland and Ireland, people have the tartans, and that's their family tartan.
Mhm.
They'll have a family crest, and that can be passed along through
Mhm.
generations. I can also see things like being passed down, like if you had someone like a great great grandfather who was in like the Civil War and the gun that he used, kind of thing,
Mhm.
being passed down. Those kind of heirlooms is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. Heirlooms, yeah.
Agreed. And the same could like extend to like the health. It could be like inherited um kind of skills, right? Like
Yeah.
intuition and psychicness
Okay.
run, it's in my family, right? There's
Yeah.
mediums that like it's a lineage thing, as opposed to like something that I've like stumbled into. So it could be inherited things in that
Hmm.
kind of sense as well, or characteristics or traits.
Yeah.
In health, sometimes to me, if we're looking at like the legacy or the inheritance, it could be like something that they were born with, or
Hmm.
it could just be like a chronic condition that exists in their family.
Right.
Um, health, this is typically like a good, this card, it's really actually depends on what other cards come up with it.
Yeah.
Because it could be a good signifier, meaning like good, long life, arguably healthy. The colors are very vibrant, right? There's
Mhm.
lots of red and orange and yellow and blue. And there's this like contentment that each of the figures have. Like none of them look like they're under like too much strife.
Right.
Um, and it's like the completion of a cycle, the ending of a cycle. Um, and then like something else beginning as well.
Hmm.
Um, in health wise, like this could be pregnancy. This could be because of like the kid with the little dogs. Trying to think what else for health. Anything else?
Um, and yeah, no, I think you caught what was coming through my thoughts in terms of like congenital or genetic disorders that may be shared,
Hmm.
passed down. It could even just be like red hair or
Yeah,
blue eyes or
genetic.
something like that. Like nothing so crazy, freckles or
Yeah.
um, you know. I know in some cultures, having like a sixth finger is or a sixth toe is that is genetic. It goes, multi-generational, and people think that it's like a special like thing.
Lucky. Cool.
Yeah, lucky. Yeah, if you're born with it, you're lucky.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um, so career, this is like you have career um, long-term career comfort, long-term career success. This is something that you've been doing for a long time. You're very comfortable in, you're very much in the routine of, you'll always have kind of like a job in. But it could also be like then you reaching the top and you
yeah.
passing that information down to others. It could be you like leading teams, training
Hmm.
teams, sharing that wisdom, maybe in terms of job, you've reached that kind of like gray haired figure that's sitting
Yeah,
there. And you're very much passing your wisdom off to other people. There's a maturity element of it. So it could be like teams of people that you've been working for a while. But I typically get this in groups. You could
yeah,
take this as a card in isolation, but it could be like a milestone celebration at work, like
yeah,
10, 15, 20 years that you're celebrating. Uh, but this is all like also like just sharing. I get it's component of sharing too.
yeah.
Um, mhm.
I'm getting like family business
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. And then relationships.
Hmm. So again, to me, this is more of like a multi-generation. This is more of like a family card.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily see this as a romantic card, other than this might signify like just the positive, like building a family with your partner,
Mhm.
having familial success, in terms of like just the comfort of your family. Like you're not going to have financial ruin. You're going to be pretty comfortable.
Mhm.
You're going to, stay married for a long time. Um, I also get in terms of relationships, family cohesiveness.
Mhm.
Um,
I like that.
and um, yeah. I
it's
mean,
very balanced as well, because
yeah,
the pentacle, they're balanced on both sides. So this is also a wedding card,
yeah. I would
or
say
like further
union.
commitment. Yeah, some
Yeah,
type of commitment, union.
totally.
This, you could be signing, maybe you're moving in with someone, and you do like financial disclosures, or
Yeah.
because there is some type of like contractual element to the card that I see, and like related to money matters. So it's like being on the same page. And it's, again, it's like that maturing element, because regardless, with or without kids, um, we do almost have like three stages of the relationship. Like, so you could look at a relationship in its like early stages or its infancy, and then it matures a little bit into kind of like the adulthood of it, and then it matures into like the old age of it. So, um, whether depending on where you are, um, it's definitely that long-term lasting, um, yeah. I was gonna say something else, but now I can't think of it.
Right.
It was good. Um, Emotional maturity. It's very much
Oh,
emotional maturity. Yeah. I love this card. It's always good to see this card come up, because it's like you've kind of achieved what a lot of people want, whatever that looks like, whatever financial stability looks like to you, whatever relational stability looks like to you. This is very much a very, very positive card for prosperity, family,
mhm.
feeling good, sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience. And it's kind of like taking all of those collective lessons,
Yeah.
um, and putting it all in one card, really. Okay.
Whereas the Nine of Pentacles is a little bit like my intuition leads me. With the 10, there's so much stuff happening
Yeah.
that I may ask questions,
Hmm.
right? I might say,
I like
like,
that.
oh, like I'm getting pulled towards family, but I'm also getting pulled towards union. And so I might just, just clarify that. Like,
Hmm.
so this is kind of what this card means. These are kind of the things I'm getting. Like, what way am, what way am I going?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
because
I
the
don't
card is
mind
kind of
asking.
chaotic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Any other final thoughts?
No, no. In terms of the Pentacles, um, when we go to the cups, the cups lead you, right? There's so many things
Mm.
that you can pull out of the cups. Um, when we got to the swords, holy crap, there was like so much that you can, and they're very basic cards for the most part.
Yes.
Like these ones, coming to like the 9 and the 10 here is very busy. The
Hmm.
swords is very, I find the cards like very basic. There's people in all of them for the most part.
Hmm.
Talking about the communication, the mental clarity, the thought process, all that kind of stuff. Like you just tease so much out of it.
Hmm.
These ones, having a figure in every single image, you get the face representation, you get what their um, body mannerisms are, and you can kind of discern for yourself with your intuition what's coming up out of it.
Hmm.
um, and so I mean this is the very earthly grounded material card, um, and I find that um, reading them, you're not you're reading them is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. Kind of pretty much for face value, whereas some of the other ones you can like elaborate and go into all
Into
of
it.
these, yeah, little, um, you know, different directions. But these ones are fairly concrete to me,
They're
I
more
think.
linear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree. The practicality lives through.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. This could also, sorry, last kind of thought for me, just from the lens of mediumship, this could be someone who's like finding dimes or quarters, or they're finding like so sometimes, you know, loved ones will leave dimes or quarters, and this person might be missing their signs. This might, so to me, this also, depending on the context of the reading, I might be like, are you getting the dimes? Are you getting the quarters? Are you seeing the
Right.
signs that they're sending to you?
Right.
So, because they're kind of always around and flowing through. But
Yeah.
it's good. Along
Hmm.
the minor arcana journey, this is
Yeah.
like where we root everything and we have that physical experience. And it's very much like, this is why we're human. This is why we're here, right? Is to have those physical experiences. It's not just in the mind, it's not just in the emotion. And it's not just kind of like that fire in our belly. It's those physical, sometimes mundane things that we do in order to have like this really enriching experience.
Yeah.
So that is the Pentacles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, we'll be taking on the court cards for all of the suits.
Hmm.
So you can subscribe to keep along with us. I've lost my words now again. Like, comment, or subscribe to stay up to date. Leave any comments. Would love to hear what you have to say about the cards as well. So thanks, Jay, for joining me on
You're
the journey through
welcome.
the Pentacles. Okay.
And I bought a lamp. Next time I will have a light bulb in it.
That's okay. My lamp went out.
Okay.